Here is the practice paper set 1, paper 1. It's the foundation one from AQA. Okay, so paper 1 is always non-calculator, remember, so this one's non-calculator. It's out of 80. Let's go quickly through grade boundaries. So roughly to pass a grade 4, you roughly need about 45 marks out of 80. And if you want your grade 5, it's more like 55, somewhere around that, maybe a few more, but that's roughly what you need for these pass marks, okay? Let's start then, shall we? So I've written next to each question like what the actual question is. So if you're not sure, some are just highlighted, but if you're not sure and you want to do a bit of extra revision around some of these questions, then feel free to do that, okay? I'm going to go through the whole paper. If you don't want to go through the whole paper, then feel free to skip ahead, but we'll get started at question 1, okay? So question 1, convert fractions to percents. What is 1/5 as a percentage, okay? Here's a good tip for these, is to completely ignore the answers to start with. I've got a 5 here and I've got a 5 here and here and here, okay? Just my tip is to work it out and then look at the answers, okay? Because otherwise you're just going to see ones that are going to confuse you and you're going to tick in the wrong thing, okay? Let's have a look. 1/5 as a percentage. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to double top and bottom, okay? So I'm going to times top and bottom by 2. It's going to give me 2 out of 10. What is 2 out of 10 as a percentage, okay? If you're still not sure, I could times top and bottom by 10 again, and I'd get 20 over 100. Now, 20 over 100 is just telling me that it's 20%, okay? So these three are here to confuse you. The 5 is there to confuse you, but it's not the answer, okay? So 20% is what 1/5 is, okay? Next one, really similar. 0.9, you need to know this really. 0.9 is 9/10, which is 90%. Okay, so 0.7 would be 70, 0.1 would be 10, for instance. Straightforward fraction question. What fraction are boys out of 20? I'm not going to even look at any of these 4 answers. I'm going to try and work it out without them, okay? So I know I have 12 boys out of, remember the bottom, the denominator of a fraction is always the total number of people. So we're going to be 12 out of 20. That's none of my answers. I need to simplify it, okay? If you half top and bottom, you get 6 out of 10. And then let's try doing that again. Half top and bottom, I get 3/5. So the fraction of boys is 3/5. Question 3, collecting like terms. People really struggle with these questions for some reason. We'll have a look. I've got some x's and I've got some just numbers on their own. I'm going to highlight the x's first. I've got 7x. Later it says 3x, but I need to highlight the actual sign in front, whether it's plus or minus. So I've got 7x minus 3x, which I know is equal to 7 take away 3 is 4x. So it's going to be either that one or that one, because they're the one with 4x in them, okay? Switch my colour, I've got plus 5 take away 8, okay? So I've got plus 5, or just 5, take away 8, which is equal to minus 3. So I've got in 4x minus 3, 4x minus 3, I've got that one there, okay? Right, end of the multiple choice questions, then you start getting what should be really sort of straightforward questions that are worth quite a few marks. This one, 4 marks for drawing a bar chart. It should be fairly straightforward, okay? So it's 4, so it just tells you need to spend a bit of time on it, okay? What do we need to do first? Well, I know the highest number is 9. I'm going to work out my scale. I'm going to write 0 in the corner here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, can I fit it on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, I can. If not, I'd have to go up in 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. I'm going to write sideways what these categories are. So the first one is going to be walk. I'm going to skip one, then I'm going to go bus. I'm going to skip one, then I'm going to go car. This is just the easiest way to write these, okay? I need a gap between each bar. So if I just make everything one thin and have a gap between each one, it's the easiest way to write it. And I'm going to write on the left-hand side frequency, okay? So if you haven't got anything else to write here, that's what you write. It just means how many. That's all the word frequency means. And on the bottom, I'm just going to write something like mode of transport or just transport, okay? And that's all I need to do to set up a bar chart. I just need to fill in the numbers, okay? I'm not going to do this very neatly, okay? The first one is goes up to 9, so I'm going to shade in really badly that first section, okay? So that goes up to 9. You spend a bit more time on this, or you could just draw out the rectangle even, okay? On bus, it needs to go to 8. Car, 7. So I'm just skipping one each time. I've got the same gap going on. I've got this one thing gap like that, and then taxi has to go up to 1 and we're done. Okay, I've got loads of space here, but that's fine. Okay, I'm just going to leave it. It's all right. That's perfect bar chart. Okay, let's just really quickly look through how I got my marks. I've got the gaps going on. I've got these things labelled. I've got the word transport. I've got frequency. Okay, so that's how I'm getting my 4 marks. Okay, let's keep going. Here are 3 events. People struggled with this question as well when I saw them. You got this thing called probability scale. So remember, I've got 1 here, so that's like the maximum I can get. That means it's definitely going to happen. I've got 0 here. That means it'd be impossible to happen. Okay, and it's worth looking how this is split up. It goes to 0, 1. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sections, okay, and it talks about a fair dice. So I know there's 6 sides on a dice, and the reason for that is basically what these probabilities are is 1/6, 2/6, 3, and you get the idea, okay? I know some of these can be simplified, but we get the idea, okay? 6/6 is equal to 1, okay? 3/6 is a half. The first arrow is done for you, so it's just saying can you do B and C. So let's look what B is. What is the probability that I get a number greater than 6 on a dice? So the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's the probability I get a number greater than 6? Well, there aren't any, okay? So the probability I get a number bigger than 6 is 0. It can't happen on a dice, okay? Just read this one really carefully. The probability of getting an even number that is less than 3. So have a look back at these numbers in the top right. An even number that is less than 3. There's only one of those numbers that is even, 2, and is less than 3, okay? So there's only one of my numbers out of 6. So this must be where the probability C comes, okay? First one was an odd number, which is done for you, but it would be 1, 3, and 5. So that's why they've put A here, okay? Bang in the middle, because there's 3 of them out of 6, which is a half. There we go with that. Question 6. Right. Question 6 does not say it is a BidMaths question, but it is a BidMaths question because any question you get is a BidMaths question. You need to always be thinking that in the back of your head, okay? Let's look what we've got. We've got a subtract and we've got a multiply. So this just tells me I need to do the multiply bit first, okay? So the first thing I need to do is 2.5 times by multiplied by 8, okay? If you're struggling with that, 2.5 times 8, I could use long multiplication using the grid method. I could do 25 times 8, and I could put a decimal point in there, okay? This is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to count up in 2.5s 8 times. So 2.5, that's one of them. Add another one, you get 5. Add another one, you get 7.5. Add another one, you get 10. And then you get 12.5, 15. How many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 8 of them, so it's 17.5. And then it's 20. So that is what 2.5 times 8 is equal to 20. Okay. This makes the question way easier because I'm just going to rewrite it. I've got 23.7 minus, I've just worked out that this thing here is equal to 20. And 23.7 minus 20 is 3.7, and that is my answer, okay? If you do this without BidMaths, so I do 23.7 take away 2.5, which is 21.2, and then I have to times that by 8. That's a really hard question, and they're probably not going to ask you that hard a question if it's out of 2 marks, okay? So use the BidMaths and then do still left to right, 23.7 minus 20, 3.7, okay? Order in decimals. You need to be able to do this, definitely. Right, have a look at this first number. It has 3 numbers after the decimal points. Now the rest only have 1 or 2, so I'm going to change that by adding zeros to the end of the decimals, okay? If you add zeros at the end of decimals, they stay the same number, but it means I can order them a bit easier. So I'm going to add 2 there, because I want 3 numbers. I'm going to add 1 there, and I'm going to add 1 there, okay? Now we're just going to look at these last 3 numbers, okay? I'm just going to highlight them all first. So the first number, they all start with 2, so I can ignore that. 303. And then the second one, 300, and then 330, and then just 30, okay? So the smallest number is this one, okay? So it's 2.03, because that just has 30 at the back, at the end of it, okay? Then the next one is going to be the one that says 300. That's my next one, which is just start off as 2.3. If you wrote the zeros in the bottom, it doesn't really matter, but I'm not going to bother. And then 303 is slightly bigger than the one to the right of it, so 2.303. And then the biggest one, although it doesn't necessarily look like it at the start, is this one, because it's 330, which are the biggest of those last 3 numbers. Okay, so 2.33, and that's how you order decimals, okay? Question 8 is another fairly basic probability question. Let's just write out what we've got. There's 25 things in a bag. There's 12 red, and there's 5 green, and the rest are white. Okay, a count shows at random what's the probability that is white. So I'm going to, first off, I'm going to do 12 add 5. This is how many red and green ones there are, which is 17. There's 25 things in the bag, count is in the bag, and the rest are white. So there must be whatever 25 minus 17 is, which is 8 white things. Okay, work out the probability that it's white. So it's going to be a fraction where the top is how many white things and the bottom is just how many counters there are in total, which it gave me at the start is 25. Okay, with probability, I probably wouldn't simplify anyway, but this doesn't need simplified. If it doesn't say simplify it, don't bother doing it. You won't get any extra marks, okay? 110 students go on a school trip, each student needs a bottle of water. How many of these packs are needed? So every pack has 6 bottles in it. How many do I need for 110 students? Okay, there's 2 ways to do it. Okay, so I'll do it the first way. So the first way is using long division. Okay, so I'm going to set this up. I'm going to do how many 6s go into 110. Okay. Sometimes these are easier if you write the 6 times table if you're not sure. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60. That'll do for now, and we'll come back to that if we need to. How many 6s go into 1? None. I'm going to do straight away then instead how many 6s go into 11. Okay. How many 6s go into 11? 1. Remainder 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Remainder 5. Okay. How many 6s go into 50? Let's look at my list on the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Now, we don't always do this, but for this one I will. I'm just going to write remainder 2. Okay, so what this is saying is that I can get 18 packs, but that won't quite be enough because I'll need another 2 extra bottles. Now, I can't buy 2 bottles. I have to buy another pack, okay? So my answer is going to be 19 because I'll need to buy an extra pack for those extra 2 people, okay? You only actually need 2 of them, but you need to buy a whole pack. So the answer is going to be 19. I'm going to show you one other way that I probably would have done this question, okay? So I'm just going to write... so this is how I probably would have done this question instead is... Think about timesing up this 6 until we get to 110. There's a few ways to do it. I know that like 10 packs would be 60 bottles, and I could keep going up. So 11 packs would be 66. I know that 12 packs would be 72. And if I keep going like that, you'll eventually end up at 19. I could have done this another way. 20 packs would be equal to 120 bottles. So 19 packs would be equal to 114 bottles. 18 packs would be, I have to take away 6 every time, 108, which would not be enough. Okay, so that means I need 19, but either way, you should get up to 19. If I had carried on this method, I would have got there eventually. Okay, it's another way to do it. 3 marks, so take your time on that one. Okay. Angle facts, really basic angle facts. This is the most basic angle fact there is. If you look, I have these three angles on a straight line, and I know that a straight line always has to add up to 180 degrees. So I've got two of the angles, so I'm going to start by adding them. 27, add 41. Remember, this is a non-calculator. 7 add 1 is 8. 2 add 4 is 6, so those two add up to 68, but all three angles together make 180. So I need to do, I'll do it properly, but you don't necessarily need to show this much method. 180 take away 68. 0 take away 8 can't be done. I borrow a 10 from here, okay. 10 take away 8 is 2. 7 take away 6 is 1. 1 take away, there's nothing there, is 1. It's amounts to 112, okay. Whatever way you do that, you just need to do 180 take away 68. I could take away 60 in my head, and then I could take away 8, okay. There's another way to do that question. Let's keep going. Coordinates, okay. Remember that the first, so coordinates are like this, x, y, you get two numbers. This one is along the corridor, and the second one is how far up, okay? So I'm going across the x-axis for the first bit, I'm going up the y-axis, up and down the y-axis for the second bit. So A is along to 3, okay, but then up to 5, and if I go along 3 and up 5, it takes me to that, is what A is. B is along to 0 and down to -3. So I'm going along nothing, but I'm going down to -3. That's where B is going to take me. And the last one, along the x-axis till I find -5, which is over there on the left, and then up to 2. If it said -2, I'd go down, but it didn't. Okay, it said that. Let's see if this works. I'm going to join up these 3 points pretty badly, but that sort of neatened it up a bit. There we go. So there you go. That's what the triangle looks like. What type of triangle is this? Here's where you need to get your ruler out, really. It looks to me like those lines there are the same, and they are, because you can measure it with a ruler if you need to, okay? If you have, but this third one is not the same as those two, so C to B isn't the same. If you have two the same, it is called, where's the answer there? Isosceles, okay. Just a bit on spelling. You'll never lose marks for bad spelling in maths. So if yours looks roughly like the word isosceles, you'll be fine. But let's try and get in good habits of trying to spell these things properly. It's got this little C in the middle. It's a bit confusing, but anyway, there we go. All sides the same is called equilateral, and none the same is called scalene. But then you can also have a right angle triangle as well. Okay, let's keep going. Powers. 2 to the power 4. What does this mean? It means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So 4 of them, okay? What's 2 times 2? Well, that's 4. I need to times that by 2. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. I need to times that by 2 again. So 8 times 2, it's going to give me 16. Okay, turn this shape thing off. There you go. 16 is what you should have got. Next one, similar, maybe even easier. 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. I need to times that by 5. If you count up 25 5 times, you'll get this equal to 125. Okay, so that's what we've got. Here's the mistake everybody makes when they do these questions. They look at 5 cubed and they think, oh, that just means 5 times 3, which is 15. It's not as straightforward as that. You usually get quite big numbers for these, okay, so don't do that in a test. This is a bit harder. It's hard to explain this without really just knowing them. Square root means that something, when I times it by itself, has to equal 196, okay? Here's what I'd probably do in the test is I'd probably try and work these things out using a bit of long multiplication, okay? But if I do 13 squared, I know that off the top of my head is 169. But again, I could set this out like 13 times 13. I could fill that out and add them all up and it would give you 169. If you do that with all of them, you get that 14 squared is equal to 196, which is what we wanted. So my answer is 14, okay? If you just work your way left to right until you get which one you need, but it is 14, just trust me on that one, okay? And then solving equations, really important, okay? The best way to do this, I think, is you start on the right-hand side. I'm going to go right to left, doing opposites as I go. So the first thing says -5, so I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to start by doing 17. I'm going to do the opposite of -5. I'm going to add 5, which equals 22. Okay. Then the next bit says 4x, which means 4 times x. So the opposite of timesing by 4 is dividing by 4. So that's what I need to do. I need to do 22 divided by 4, which is harder than it looks. Easiest way to divide by 4 is to half it twice. So half of 22 is 11. So 11 halved is 5.5. That is my answer. That's quite tricky, that, okay? Half 11, half 10 and half 1, and add them together, you get 5 and 0.5, which is 5.5, okay? But however you get to that, that's it, okay? You can do a bit of long division if you really want, okay? But there you go. That's how you solve an equation. Go right to left and do opposites. Money problem. This one's a bit strange. John has 78p, Nat has £3.52. Nat gives John some money. Drop my pen. So they both have the same amount. How much does Nat give John? Right, here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to start by adding up these two sums, okay? So these two sums of money, 3.52. Add no pounds, 78, okay? I'll show you why in a second, but we're going to add them. 2 add 8 is 10, no, carry the 1. 5 add 7 is 12, add another 1 is 13. I'm going to put the decimal back in here and carry the 1, so I get 4. In total, they have £4.30. So they're going to share it so they have the same amount. Well, if they have the same amount, I must just have to half this number here, okay? So £4.30 divided by 2, share between both of them. Half of £4 is £2. Half of 30p is 15p. So they need to have £2.15 each. Okay, so this Nat person had £3.52. I'm running out of space, so I'm going to go down here. £3.52. So how much has she lost if she's now got £2.15? Let's do that. Basically, we just need to do that, take away that. You would have got the same answer here if you did £2.15 minus 78p, but either way, okay. So borrow a 10 next door. 12 take away 5 is 7. 4 take away 1 is 3. 3 take away 1 is 1. So the answer is £1.37. Okay, so like I said, if I do that, take away that, I'll also get £1.37. Okay, it's already got the units in, so that's finished. Let's carry on. Right, this is the one, okay? This is where you're going to pass or fail, essentially. When you see a big 6-mark question, it's about long multiplication, a bit of addition, probably a bit of subtraction, that sort of thing, okay? But you need to show loads of working out, and if you do that well, you're going to get 6 marks, okay? Which is massive, okay? That's probably the difference between getting a grade 3 or a grade 4 or a grade 4 or a grade 5, okay? So let's have a look at what we've got. Cinema has 37 rows of seats, okay? So it's got 37 rows of seats going all the way back. And in each row, there are 23. So imagine that each row, you've got 23 and there's 37, okay? Going all the way back. Adult tickets are £8, child's are £6. The cinema has sold tickets for every seat, so it's a sellout. The manager estimates he's made £6,400 from these. 200 child tickets were sold. So I've got loads of info that I need to crunch. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is I've got 37 rows of 23 seats. How many seats have I got then? Okay, what I need to do is 37 times by 23. Okay, so this is just a case of using your grid method, okay? So 37 times by 23. I draw in my grid like that. Okay, and times and all these things. So start off in the top box, which is probably the hardest one. 2 times 3 is 6, but I've got 2 zeros to go there as well, okay? So that gives me 600. The one below it, 30 times 3, 30, 60, 90. 20 times 7 is 140. And 3 times 7 is 21. Okay, I need to add up all these things. I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm going to add the 2 top ones in my head. 600 and 140 makes 740. And the two bottom ones, 90 add 20 is 110, so it must be 111 if I add those two. If you need to, just add everything though in a big column, okay? Add up all these, I get 158. There are 851 seats, okay? That's how many seats are in the whole cinema. What info do we have? There's 200 child tickets, okay? So I know there's 200 child. That means the rest have to be adults, okay? There's 851 seats, so there must be 651 adults, because I've done 800, take away 200, okay? I know that for this one, 200 children, and they're £6 each. I can do this one fairly straightforward, 200 times 6. If you just count it up 200 6 times, you get £1,200. So he's made that much money off the children. This one's going to be a bit harder, okay? I'm going to go back to using the grid method, okay? I've got 651 times by, adult tickets are £8 each, times by 8, okay? Draw out a little grid. Bit neater than me. Okay, 6 times 8 is 48. And I've got 2 zeros. 8 times 5 is 40, but I've got an extra 0 to put on. And then 8 times 1 is 8. So let's add all these things up. 4,800, add 400, add 8. 8, 0, 12, but carry the ones, it's 5,208. So he's made 5,208 off adults, and he's made £1,200 off children, okay? So how much has he made in total? I just need to add these things together. 1,200, add 5,208, add them up, 8,046, £6,408. Right, when you finish, which we have, that is actually all the calculations. Let's just read what the actual question said. It's this bottom bit that I care about. So the manager estimates that £6,400 was raised. Check whether the manager's estimate was close to the exact amount raised. So we worked out the exact amount and it was that much. So all I need to do is say, was he close to £6,400? The answer is yes, because he's only £8 away. So yes, he was only £8 away. That will get you all your marks, okay? Just make sure you write something to actually answer the question, because otherwise you'll only get 5 marks, okay? There's nothing that hard in here. It's just pretty much long multiplication and a bit of addition. That's all we had to do in that, okay? So just read the question really carefully and try and get loads of method marks, okay? Just work something out is how you always start those things, okay? Right, I've already scribbled all over this one. A scale map of France. First question says about a bearing. You see I've just highlighted that in green next to it because this is the green line here. Let's just read what it says. What is the 3-figure bearing of Lyon from Bordeaux? Okay, draw a straight line between Lyon and Bordeaux, which I have done. And I need a north line at this bit where it says from. So from Bordeaux means I can draw a north line from Bordeaux. So there on the left, okay? I've drawn this north line in. Straight up-ish, okay, it'll do. Basically, a bearing is how big is this angle here, starting north until I hit the actual line, okay? I could work this out with a protractor, but I'm not going to, because if you have a look at that angle, if it was slightly more, this thing here that I'm drawing here would have been 90 degrees, okay? It's close to 90 degrees, but it's just a little bit less than 90 degrees. Let's look at the options we have. Which of those is just a little bit less than 90 degrees? It's this one here, so it's 85 degrees. That would be slightly more. That one would be massive. It's way bigger than what we need, and that one would be absolutely tiny. The first one would be tiny, sorry, and the last one would be massive, okay? So it's this one we need. It's just smaller than a right angle is what it makes, okay? Work out the actual straight line distance between Paris and Marseille. On the shrunken version I gave you out, we worked out, I think that this was 5.5 centimetres. it says here that every 1 centimetre is 80 kilometres. Okay, so I've got 5 of them. So what I need to do is 5.5 times 80. The nice thing about this, I'm pretty sure you get a mark for just writing 5.5 centimetres. Okay, and then you actually need to work this bit out. Okay, I'm going to do instead 55 times by 80. Okay, I'll show you why in a second. Draw a little grades. 5 times 8 is 40, but I've got 2 zeros. And 80 times 5, well, 8 times 5 is 40 with 1 0, so it'll be 400. Add them together, you get 4,400. But let's look at the original question. 5.8 times 80, not 55 times 80. Well, 5 times 80 is 400, so that's roughly what my answer needs to be, okay? So I know I'm going to have to shove a decimal point in there. So it's 440 is what it is. That's how many kilometres, okay? So there you go. So multiplying with decimals, easiest way to do it, don't do it, just times it. If it's 55 times 80, then work out where you need to put your decimal back in, okay? Decimal goes there, so it's 440.0, just 440, okay? Let's keep going. Ratio, which always people just do not like for some reason. This isn't that bad a question. Let's have a look. Write down the number of left-handed girls to right-handed girls as a ratio in its simplest form. It's only 1 mark, so you need to do everything to get you 1 mark, okay? How many left-handed girls are there? 8. It says there, left-handed girls. As a ratio to right-handed girls. How many right-handed girls are there? There's 20. I need to simplify this. It works the same way as simplifying a fraction. Okay, I'm going to half both of these numbers. 4 to 10. I'm going to do it one more time. 2 to 5. And then I can't really half anything, otherwise I get decimals, and I can't divide anything else either. So I'm going to get 2 to 5. Okay, that's not that bad, that question. Okay, I'm just write the 2 numbers and simplify them. What percentage of the boys are left-handed? This is going to be a bit trickier, okay? What percentage of the boys are left-handed? I have 3 boys that are left-handed. I'll do it in yellow. 3 boys that are left-handed. So that's going to be the top of my fraction, which is how I'm going to start doing this question, okay? And remember, the bottom is the total. So how many boys are there? What percentage of the boys? So that's going to be the bottom, okay? And I'll do 15. Divide top and bottom by 3, so I'm going to simplify this. And that gives you 1/5. And then I'm going to double top and bottom, which gives you 2/10. 2/10 is equal to 20%. That question you might recognise because that is exactly the same. So it's, well, at least going from here to here, sorry, you have to simplify the first bit, but going from 1/5 to 2/10 and 20% was question 1. It's exactly what that was, okay? So have a look back at that if you need to, but there you go. Remember, 2 over 10 is 20 over 100, which is 20%. Liam says, if you divide, any multiple of 10, so any number in the 10 times table by 2, then the answer always ends in 5. So let's start with a number in the 10 times table. Let's start with 10. Well, 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. So that one works for him. Yeah, Liam's right there. Let's try another number. What if you do 20 and you divide that by 2? You'll get 10, which doesn't end in 5. That ends in a 0. So I'm just going to write here no. 20 divided by 2 equals 10, and that's pretty much all you need. It's only 1 mark, that'll do, okay? Here's a good tip for these sorts of questions. When it says John says that blah 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 blah, they're usually wrong, and you usually need to find a way why they're wrong, okay? But there you go, that's for that one. That's fairly straightforward. Question 19, translate is another word for move. Okay, so I'm going to move this triangle, but I'm not going to rotate it or flip it or anything like that. I'm just going to move it, okay? So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to draw around this shape as best I can. There you go, it should ping. So that's that shape. You could use tracing paper for this if you want. All it says is move point A, so move it so it's from there, move it so that top bit is now at point B. There you go, whoops, that's it, finished. Okay, I've moved it, and now that top bit is down there. So translate, you just need to know what the word translate means. It just means move, dead straightforward, okay? Rotate the triangle 90 degrees clockwise so that matches up with that. I'll just get rid of this 1 second, okay? Let's try drawing this one in again. Like so. I should ping to... No, that didn't work. Okay. Anyway, rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. If I select this, I've got a little tool on this that lets me rotate it right, because that's what 90 degrees means. And then I just need to make C match up to where D is. So it's not perfect because you need to use a ruler, but there you go for that one. That's what it should look like when you're finished, okay? Tracing paper is all you need for that. Just take your trace paper, draw the shape, rotate it, turn your paper 90 degrees clockwise, and then draw it back in at D. Fairly straightforward, okay? 2 marks for that is a real gift, to be honest, okay? This is, I think, pretty much from here is where we start to get to some trickier questions. This is substituting into quite a hard formula, okay? So work out the value of V when X, so this thing here is equal to 11 and H is equal to 6. If there's no gaps between things in algebra, it means you times them. So V is equal to half. I'm going to sort of cheat by, I didn't like that. I'm going to write 0.5 instead as a half. I'll show you why. 0.5 times by 11 squared times by 6. Okay, so 0.5 times x squared times h. And I know h is 6 and x is 11. I'm just going to work out that thing in the middle. So 0.5 times 121 times by 6. Okay, that looks quite tricky to me, and doing half times 121 is quite difficult. It means a half of, okay. Here's a little tip. If you had a really simple one, like 2 times 3 times 4, for instance, you'll get the same answer whichever way you times these things together. So I might do 2 times 4, which is 8, and times that by 3, for instance, okay. This is how we're going to do this question. So I'm going to do 0.5 times 6 and times whatever that is by 121, because it's going to make life a bit easier, okay? 0.5, if you count it up in 0.5 6 times, okay, or half of 6 is literally all that means. I know the first 2 bits come together to give me 3, so it's 3 times 121. So 121, I've got 3 of them. 3, 6, 3, minus the 3, 6, 3, okay? There we go. Question 21 about the lowest common multiple. Okay, I just messed up this question, which is why I'm doing it again. Okay, let's read it really carefully. Diaries are sold in box of 12, so diaries are box of 12. Pencils are in box of 10. Rulers are in box of 6, okay. Teacher wants to buy the same number of diaries, pencils and rulers. Work out the smallest number of boxes. What's the smallest number of boxes of each item they could buy? Okay, so let's have a look. Diaries, I could buy boxes of 12, so I could buy 12 diaries. I could buy 24. I'm just going to write out the times table. 36, 48, let's get it right. And then 60, and then 72, and then let's stop for now, okay. Pencils, I could buy 10 pencils. I could buy 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60. Now that looks good because I've got 60 above as well, so maybe it's going to be 60. Let's do rulers. 6 times table. 6, 12, 18, 24. Now 30 appears in these two, but it's not on the top, so it's not 30. 36, 42, 48, 54 and 60. Okay, right, that's what I was after. I want a number in all these times tables. Essentially what we're after is the lowest common multiple of 12, 10, 6, and it looks like it's 60. Let's just read what the question said. It said how many boxes of each. Okay, so let's just count along here. 1, 2, 3. If I want 60 diaries, I need to buy 5 boxes of diaries, okay. And if I count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I need 6 boxes of pencils, and then I need to get from 6 to 60, which must be 10 boxes of rulers, okay. That is the smallest amount of each box I can get, so I'll have 60 of each, which is the first number that's in each times table, okay. So that's my answer, 5, 6 and 10 for that one, okay. 22, where are we up to? Ordering fractions, okay. Best way to do this I'm going to look at these three denominators, 5, 8 and 2. And I need a number that is in the 5, the 8 and the 2 times table. Okay, sort of similar to that question that was just above it. What's a number in the 12, 10s and 6s? Okay, a number in the 5, 8s and 2s is the 40 times table. So I'm going to write all of these three fractions as something over 40. Right, the easiest one's this one. A half is something over 40. A half is something over 40 is 20 over 40. Okay, because 20 over 40 is a half, right? Let's look at the other ones because they're a bit trickier. What do I do to 5? This is the first one. What do I do to a 5 to make a 40? I times it by 8, okay? I need to times the top and bottom of that fraction by 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 5 times 8 is 40. So these two things are what we call equivalent. They are the same, those two yellow fractions, okay? So it's been really similar with this. What do I times 8 by to get 40? 5. 8 times 5 is 40 and 5 times 5 is 25, okay? Right, let's have a look. So these two things are what you call equivalent as well. This is 20 over 40, okay? 16 over 40 is 4 away. Because if you add 16 add 4 gives you 20. And 25 from 20 is 5 away. So which one is closer? It's the yellow one, okay? So my answer is 2/5. And I've got all of my working out there, okay? I think that's the best way to do that question. You can do it using, by changing fractions to percentages if you'd rather do that, okay? So have a look at that if you want to. But I think multiplying them all by something to give what we call a common denominator is the easiest way, okay? Let's keep going. 23. Right, scatter graph question. My first thing whenever I have a scatter graph question is to draw a line of best fit, which I have done already in red, okay? You're going to get a mark at some point, so to do that, okay? If you look, my line of best fit sort of goes roughly through the middle of where all the dots go. There's not an exact science to it, but there you go. That's roughly how we do that. What proportion, let's look at that word here. That means either a fraction or a decimal or a percent. That's what it wants as your answer, okay? Either a fraction, decimal, percent. Of the 10 people passed on their first test, number of tests need to pass 1. I've sort of drawn over it slightly, but there's 3 of them that have, okay? So my answer is 3 of them out of, remember what I said about fractions, the total goes in the bottom, so 3 out of 10, that's fine. If you wanted a different answer, you could have written 0.3, or you could have wrote 30%, okay, but I only need one answer, so I'm just going to stick with that. 3 out of 10 is the easiest one, fractions easiest to do. Describe the correlation. Right, these dots are going up from bottom left to top right. They're going up, it means that it's positive correlation, so it's one of those two. Strong positive means that they're quite rigid. The dots are nicely hugging the line as they go up, which is what this one is, okay? If it was weak, they would look sort of like this. It looked like they're roughly going up bottom left to top right, but they'd be a bit all over the place, okay? But we've got a nice strong one where they're all hugging the line, so it's strong positive. Negative ones would go down like that, top left to bottom right. Is it going uphill positive? Is it going downhill negative, okay? And then the thing I said about weak and strong works the same way going down. Use a line of best fit to estimate the number of tests needed for a person who has 50 lessons, okay? So for this, you would use a ruler and I'd find lessons 50. And I'm going to do a slightly broken line without a ruler because it's not working for me for some reason. And then I go up from 50, so I hit my line of best fit, and then I go across, and it's going to hit more or less bang on at 4. Okay, so my answer is going to be 4. If yours hits at 4.2, call it 4.2. Just use your line of best fit. Okay. Mira says, I can use the trend to predict the number of driving tests needs to pass for any number of driving tests. Comment on this statement. Let's just have a look back at this line, okay? It's a really nice line of best fit going up here, but after here, I don't really have any data after this point here. So after here, for all I know, it might go bang up like that, or it might come back down, or it might wobble, something like that. Okay, I have no idea what happens after this data, okay? So I can't use this to predict what happens forever. All I can really predict it to is about 65, which is roughly where it goes to, okay? And starting at about 30, which is where it starts, okay? So I'm going to write something like, can't predict with data outside of the range that I'm given, okay? Yeah, I don't know what happens in the future based on what I've got, something like that, okay? There's 1 mark question, there you go. Okay, algebraic expressions, a really strange one, this. Just look at what we've got. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rectangles, and I can describe them all algebraically because they all have a length and a width on them, okay? So, for instance, this width here, going from there to there, is A. So is that length and that length. So all these yellow lines are A, essentially, okay? And all of these blue lines would be the length D, okay? Remember how you work out the area of a rectangle, you do length times width. So let's look at what we've got. We've got here AB, which means A times B. So which rectangle, there's actually 2 answers here, has an A on the side and a B on the width, A on the length, B on the width, A on one side, B on the other, okay? And my answer is going to be that one. So shade in that one, okay? I could have shaded in the bottom one as well because that's also an A and a B, okay? So there you go for that. Next one, AD. So I need an A times a D. Well, that's an A, which is the top bit, and a D, which is the middle bit, which is going to be that middle rectangle. So that's AD. And then I also need a C and a D. Well, there's a C there and a D there, so I could shade in those 2. I could have also shaded in that one there instead, but only one of the CDs, okay? So I'm going to just go with the right-hand side one, leave that, okay? This one is trickier. We do what we call expanding a bracket. I'm going to times everything in the bracket by D to get AD plus 2CD, okay? So AD we've already done is there, and I need 2 lots of CD. Well, there's one CD, and there's another CD, okay? You can shade these in a little bit better, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I don't care about your shading abilities, so there you go. AD had 2 lots of CD. Write an expression for the area of the whole shape. I'm just going to write in each rectangle what it is. This top one is A times B. I'll come on to what expression means in a bit, okay? The top one's AB, this is CD, this is CD, and the middle is AD, we said, because it's an A on the top and a D on the side, and the bottom one is an AB as well, okay? Expression means, I'm going to add everything together. Expression is a list of letters and numbers without an equal sign, okay? So the area is all of these things added together, so it's AB, add AB, so that's top and bottom, add CD, doesn't matter what order you do this in, add AD. That is fine, that will get you 4 marks, it's only 1 mark question, okay? I'm just going to neaten things up slightly by bringing these things together. So AB add AB is equal to 2AB, same as you had 2CD before. The 2 middle bits, CD add CD is 2CD. And the only thing I'm missing is this last bit, which is AD, okay? So those 2 are equivalent to the answer line and the line above it. So either's fine, whichever one you're happy with, okay? You don't get any extra marks for doing the last bit. Next thing, strange question this. Alan, Ben and Carl ran a 1,000-metre race. The distance time graph shows the race. Who won the race and give an answer? And the next bit says describe the race, okay? So let's just have a look what's going on. It's a 1,000-metre race, so they finish when they reach 1,000 metres, okay? So let's look at the time on the bottom. Which one reached it first? It's this person here. And if I follow that line down, Ben is the one that won the race, okay? How do I know that he won? Well, he finished at 4.5 seconds, and the others finished at 5 seconds, okay? So I know the reason that Ben won is he finished in the lowest time, the smallest time, yeah? least time, whatever way you want to put it. Okay, finished. Well, I can't really say finished first. Okay, I need something about time. Okay. Part B, describe the race. Really strange question, this. It just wants 4 facts about the race, essentially. I'm just going to use bullet points. All it says in the mark scheme is you have to mention everybody at some point. So I need to mention Alan, Ben and Carl at some point, okay? Here's a few facts about the race. If you look, Alan's line is steepest to start with. So I'm going to write that Alan started quickest. Yeah, because his line is the steepest. If we're talking about steepness, if you look at these last 2 ones, those lines are parallel between Ben and Carl. If they're parallel, that means they're the same steepness. Okay, so what I'm going to write is something like Ben and Carl finished at the same speed. Okay, so they're both same steepness, which means they're both doing the same speed on this graph. Okay, what else is of any use in this graph to me? I know that, well, I can see that Alan and Carl finished at the same time. Okay, so that's another point, so let's write that. Finished together. Okay, and then I need one more point, anything will do. Let's say something about Alan. Alan's got this strange bit here which no one else has, which if it's flat means he wasn't doing anything. So I'm going to write Alan had a rest after, I think it is, if you go down from there, it's then, so after 3 minutes, okay. And that'll do. I could keep going if I wanted, but it says 4 marks and it's 4 things. Describe the race. I haven't really described it that well, but I've basically just said 4 facts about the race, and that's all this question asks for, okay? So that's what it's asked for. If you get a similar graph and it says describe it, that's all you need to do, okay? Just look at how many marks in the mark scheme. Right, last ones are fairly tricky. I haven't got many more to go, okay? But these are proper grade 5 questions, the past 4 ones, so let's have a look. Okay, so midpoints of graphs, of coordinates is basically what we're looking at, okay? 2 straight lines are shown. A is the midpoint, so A is the midpoint of OB, so this is bang in the middle of the other 2 points, okay? Let's have a look at that. How do I get from O to A? I go along the corridor and up the stairs. From here I go along 7 and then I go up 6. If that's in the middle, then I'd have to do that again to get to B. So if I'm at 7 and I go along another, and I go along another 7 and I go up another 6, then in total I've gone along 14. So this is for B. I've gone along 14 and I've gone up 6 and 6, which is 12. That is the coordinates of B. That's 1 mark out of your 3 probably. It might even be 2, I'm not sure, okay. And then the next thing says, I'll switch to different colours, that T, the B is the middle, so this thing here is in the middle of these 2 things here, okay. I'm going to do something really similar, I'm just going to go the other way, okay. This is a bit harder and I'm going to overlap slightly. I tell you what, I'm going to rub out the green bit, because otherwise things are going to get a bit confusing, okay. I'm going to rub out all that green stuff. There we go. Right, switch colour. So B is in the middle of these 2, right, so imagine sort of stepping up here. So I've started at 25 and I went to 14. So this has gone, I've taken away 11 basically. I've gone 11 left to get from here to here. And to get from 4 up to 12, I've gone up 8. Okay. Now we're going to do basically what we did going the other way, but now we're just going backwards. Okay. So I'm going like this. And I started off by taking away 11. So I'm going to take away another 11. And then I'm going to add another 8 to go up. So I've got these coordinates here. I'm running out of highlighters to use, but I've got these coordinates here. I just need to take away 11 from the x thing. So I'm going to do 14 minus 11. And then I've got 12, but I'm going up another 8. So 12 add 8. And my coordinates to finish then are 14 take away 11, which is 3. and 12 add 8, which is 20. Quite tricky that, okay, but you should have been able to do that first bit when I did them in green going left to right, okay, you should be able to do that part at least, okay, and then just look what's happened. Let's just look if that makes any sense. Well, this point here, this point here is to the left of it, so the x coordinate should be less, and it's up a bit, so the y coordinate should be a bit more than the other one, okay, let's get going. This is a hard question, okay? This is probably the hardest question on the test. It's something about parallel lines and solving quite a tricky equation, okay? Let's have a look. These two here, these are some of the rules of straight lines, really, rules of parallel lines. If you ever have this X shape here, then these two are called vertically opposite, these two yellow things, and they are always the same. So if this is 2x add 15, then this is 2x add 15 as well. Okay. Right, now I can use this actual parallel line thing. I'm going to show you what I have. I've got, if I follow this down, let's try that again. If I follow this line like this, okay, like that, these two, so these two, the top and bottom one, are parallel because it says they're parallel here, which means that the ones inside of it will be equal. Okay, these are what you call corresponding angle. You see that that blue thing over it, it looks roughly like an F, like a backwards capital F, okay? The ones inside the top and bottom are equal. It's called corresponding angles, okay? So I know that I'm going to be even more confusing and write these the wrong way around, but I know that 3x minus 38 has to be equal to 2x add 15, okay? Basically this thing here has to be equal to this thing here, okay? Now I've got a horrible equation I need to solve. I've got x's on both sides, okay? This is why I've written this thing here. These are quite tricky to do. I'm going to balance that up, that equation, by taking away the same thing from both sides. And what I'm going to take away is 2x from both sides, because I want to get rid of this 2x on the right hand side, okay? What's 3x take away 2x? It would just be x. And I've still got this minus 38 thing going on here, okay? So I've got x minus 38, oops, is equal to 2x take away x is nothing. That's why I did this. I want to get rid of some x's, okay? So I know that's equal to just 15. Now, similar to what we had before, solve this equation here, which is a bit easier than the one we had. Remember what I said, we go right to left. We do opposites as we find them. So I've got 15. It says here, take away 38. I'm going to add 38 instead, because I'm going to do the opposite. And that'll give me what x is. So I just need to do 15, add 38, which gives you 3 remainder 1. 3, 1, 1 gives you 5, 53. Okay. 2 more to go. Simultaneous equations, quite tricky. First bit says 2x add 3y is 15.5. X and y has to equal 6. I need both of these things to be true at the same time. I need to make either this thing be the same as this thing, or the 3y equal this thing here, okay? And the way I'm going to do that is by doubling that whole bottom line. I'll show you what I mean in a second, okay? So I'm going to rewrite the top thing, 2x add 3y equals 15.5, and I'm going to double the whole bottom line. So I'm going to double this yellow line here, okay? If you do that, you'll get 2x plus 2y equals 12, okay? So see what I mean? Now I've got 2x here and 2x here, which is what I want, okay? I want something to be the same on the top and the bottom, because what I do now is this. I take the whole top line and I subtract the bottom line from it, okay? 2x take away 2x is nothing. That's why I've done this, okay? 3y take away 2y is 1y, or just y. 15.5 take away 12 is 3.5. So there you go. I've just pretty much answered half of the question. Y equals 3.5. Okay? Let's just look at this yellow thing I've highlighted above, okay? It said that x add y has to equal 6. So I know that x add y has to equal 6. So I know that x add, I now know that y equals 3.5 has to equal 6. So what do you add to 3.5 to get 6? So do 6 take away 3.5, which is 2.5, and that's us finished, okay? So I've worked out what x is and I've worked out what y is, and we're finished with that. They're quite tricky. Simultaneous equations, probably take a bit of revision for those, okay? And we're almost there. Nasty question. Triangle area in Pythagoras. Let's start with what info it gives me. In the diagram, the area of triangle ABD is 56. Okay, I'm just going to have a look at that. So ABD, like that. That there has an area of 56 centimeters squared. How do you work out the area of the triangle? Okay, I'm going to call this top thing H, okay, and I could do with working that out. So, area of a triangle is base, which is 14, times the height divided by 2, and that gives you 56 because it said it equals 56, okay? Here's what we do. We're going to solve this little equation by doing what we've done a few times so far in this paper, okay? I need to start with 56 and go right to left, doing opposites. Okay, I'm going to work my way there. So I'm going to do 56, I'm going to times it by 2. And then when I get over a bit further, I'm going to divide it by 14. Okay, 56 times 2 is 112. I need to do 112 divided by 14. This will tell me what H is, okay? That's quite hard to do, isn't it? What I might do is just write the 14 times table if I can work it out. Keep adding 14 each time. 42, 56, 60, 70, 84, 98. And then the next one will take you to 112. So what did I have to do that by? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I know this is equal to 8, so I know that H has to equal 8, okay? We're still not done with this question. It's the last question, so you'd expect it to be pretty hard, okay? It's asking you how big C to D is. I'm going to draw out this side in blue, okay? And I'm going to do a sketch of it somewhere. I'll do it here, okay? So this right triangle here, which is a right angle triangle, that's dead important, is 6 on the bottom. It's H up, which I know is 8. And it's asking me what this is. If you have two sides of a right angle triangle, you need to use Pythagoras to work out the third, okay? This is Pythagoras. If you haven't done this in a while, don't worry, okay? But I know that A squared and B squared equals C squared, where A and B are the two small sides. So in this case, it's 6 and 8, doesn't matter what order. And C is the hypotenuse, which is the long side, okay? So A squared, well, let's just actually write out what these things are. I know what A is, okay? So it's 6 squared add 8 squared equals C squared. I'm going to call C the long side, okay? 6 squared is 36, add 8 squared is 64, equals C squared. Add these two numbers here to get that C squared is equal to 100. Something squared is 100, so what is the something? I need to square root. What do you times something by itself to get 100? And the answer is 10. So how long is that side here from C to D? It's 10, that's what it wants, okay? That's the end there. That last one's really tricky, okay? So have a look through the paper, have a look at the red things, because they're probably the bits you'll need to revise, okay? Thank you.